But anyway, welcome. So whether you are watching this live or you're watching this later, I'm really glad you're here. Thank you for tuning in. And I cannot think of a topic that I would rather speak about than being your own healthcare advocate. We have this one life, and our health is one of the most valuable assets that we will have on this journey. But I know that you know that because you're part of this mighty community. You have varying degrees of health concerns, whether it's a new diagnosis that you're trying to work through or something chronic or mental or physical. I know that you get that your health is very important, but some of you may not have taken that extra step to actually owning it in a way that you are your own health advocate, because it is a different way of looking at your health. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. And studies will say that once you make that shift to absolutely owning and being in an active role with your health, by doing that, I'm talking about participating in decisions that affect your health, asking questions so that you really understand what is going on around you and what your options are, and absolutely trying to make sure always that you are being heard. Because what happens when you make that shift is your confidence grows, you are more empowered, your mindset begins to be more positive, and it can actually benefit you in a way that you've got a better outcome with your health. And not just your outcome, but the outcome of the people around you. Because once you stand up for yourself in a journey of that magnitude of just being your own advocate, people take notice, people around you, and you open up a space for them to also be able to do it for themselves in their own lives. It's just a very important step that you can take. So we're going to talk about tips and strategies today about being your own advocate, and we're going to talk about it in three areas. One, the pandemic, because that is absolutely what is on a lot of our minds right now, and how to be your own advocate in isolation. The other is when you're with doctors, how to have the most successful outcome when you are with the doctor. And then finally, how you can be an advocate for yourself every day in your life, because there are many things that you can do every single day in your decisions that advocate for your health. Okay? But first of all, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Janet Knode. I'm a two-time breast cancer survivor of two different types of breast cancer. I am part of an organization called CanCare. And CanCare's main purpose is that no one walks a cancer journey alone. So they pair up a trained cancer survivor with those going through the battle of the same type of cancer, because we find it is uplifting, it provides hope to actually walk a path that someone is there by your side that has already walked it and can possibly answer questions that no one else can. So it is a perfect example of how to advocate for yourself. So if you have cancer, if you have a loved one that has cancer, if you are the caregiver of someone that is battling cancer, reach out to cancare.org or any other resources similar to that and get the help, because there is always hope. I am also a speaker, and I have a website called janetlivingrenewed.com. And there I talk about health tips, I talk about faith, I talk about your mindset, but I also tell my story. And my story is unique. Yes, I've had two cancers, but I've had 9 surgeries. I've had chemotherapy, radiation. My mother shaved her head to match mine, and I had leech therapy. So if right now you kind of were thinking, ooh, I'm right there with you. It was, ooh, for sure, to have that. But, you never know what's going to be part of your health journey. You just need to step up towards it. And what's interesting, it was in that second half of my health journey that I actually embraced the idea of being my own advocate. And it was a doctor that opened my eyes to that. And let me just, if you would allow me to, give a personal little story here. It is my second round of cancer. I have just spent 2 days having 30 hours of surgery. a 21-hour surgery that was a double mastectomy with reconstruction, and then a 7-hour surgery and a 2-hour surgery following that within hours, because I had a breast that was fighting the process every step of the way. So I'm laying in the hospital room. Actually, I'm in ICU. I've got doctors standing around me, and they're talking about lots of different things that we might be able to do to help the situation that I was having. And somehow I heard someone say the word leeches. And then, more surprisingly than that, I heard my own voice saying, yes, sure. So we were off to the races. And when the doctors left the room, one stayed behind, and she came over to me and she said, Janet, you know you're in control of this. Well, that made no sense to me. I'm the wounded one. I had no idea what the next step was going to be. How was I in control? And what she was really trying to say to me was, own this journey, find your voice, and get in the game. Because she knew that my outcome would be better if I wasn't just sitting in a space of just a recipient, of just accepting whatever comes my way, no control, no voice in it. She knew I would fare better if I owned it, if I was on my team and I participated in that part of my health journey. So it is something that is so important to you. And I want to ask you a few questions. And I would love to see thumbs up, hearts, wow faces, or anything like that, if you would. One of those is, how many times have you felt in your health journey powerless? That, well, it's in my family history. It's most likely going to come whenever it's going to come. Sometimes you just sit there and you feel powerless, that you can't really make a big difference in your health. Definitely me. How many times possibly have you been to a doctor only to find that there was just a real quick rush to maybe fill a prescription, not really talk about other options, and you left feeling that you just weren't heard? I can relate to that as well. How many people have been at that doctor, driven home, gotten halfway home and thought, oh, dang, I forgot to mention this symptom, and it was a biggie for me. I forgot to mention it. I do all of that type of stuff. I've been there. And it's interesting. I think doctors, for the most part, are absolutely doing the very best they can to make sure that we are healed, that we have a successful outcome, but they are not trained to focus on other methods, holistic methods, food as medicine. And so you really have to step back and say, take the doctor's input, but also do some research on your own to find out what other steps you can be taking in order to increase the outcome to one that is more successful and long-term for you. So hopefully that makes some sense for you all. I'm telling you, I can't always see the thumbs up or anything like that, but I'm going to assume that a lot of you understand that those questions and that you can relate to that as well. So let me first of all talk about this crazy pandemic that we are in. It is a very strange moment in our lives, and it will be a story that we will be telling for the rest of our lives because it's going to impact them. But what's interesting is right now we've been asked to put the masks on, social distance, wash your hands often, and that is a perfect space to be in to start taking more action for yourself. I wear the masks. I am social distancing. I wash my hands constantly. I've got hand sanitizer everywhere because it's important. I want to make sure that not only I don't get a virus, but that I also don't risk anyone else. So what we're finding now with our doctors is we're doing more telemedicine, more virtual online types of appointments. And if you think a doctor's time is short when you're in that doctor's office, you know, It's like, try doing it online. It's usually much, much quicker. So what you need to do is make sure that you are prepared. Have a list of questions. If you feel like you've got symptoms, find out, talk to your county officials, find out the best way of getting tested to see what your exposure has been, or if you're an active carrier of the virus. But it's just a matter of being smart about what you do with your time, where you spend it, who you engage with, and get the testing if you feel like it's necessary. If you're concerned or if you've been exposed by being around someone that has already had the virus. So it's just a matter of being smart about how you proceed every day. So wash the hands. That is my absolute best tip. Um, so what's interesting is when we're also talking to doctors, let's say we're back in a normal routine where we're actually physically there, but the same actually works if you're on the phone or online. Be prepared. Know what it is that you want to discuss with them. That is a moment where two experts are coming together. They are the expert on the medicine side of it, but you are the expert on you. And the topic you're both focused on is you. Now, you may not know what's happening in your body at any given point in time, but you know when something has changed. You know when something's not right. And you can sit with it for a while. And if you don't see it changing, you need to step up and make sure that you reach out to your doctor, whether it is through an online system where you can email them questions, but make sure that you are being heard when you realize that something has changed and is different in your body. When I visit a doctor, I have my list of medications on my phone. In the notes section on my phone, I list my medications. I bring up test results. I do screenshots of test results. I keep them with me always so I can have a conversation. Should I be with a specialist that might not normally be the one that does my testing? I keep all of that right there with me because I want to be able to answer any question that may come up. And again, you're advocating for yourself. You're owning that part of the journey. Also, don't be afraid to ask them questions. I have on so many occasions said, what does that mean? Because sometimes something is said and it makes no sense to me. So it's asking, what does that mean? If you're prescribed a new medication, what are the side effects that you're seeing more often? How long are we going to let this go on this medication before we decide it's the right path or possibly we need to change paths? Ask the questions. And most doctors, I think, are fine with that because they're seeing that you're getting in the game with them. And I think that most of them will welcome that. Some won't, but most of them will. Now, my doctors know that I get online and I do a lot of research. I've had them at different times say, we believe it's this, don't go look it up, because you can also find scenarios if you're looking up information online that will spin you into places you don't need to go, dark places. So just overall, be prepared, do your research, ask the questions, have the information that you want to know about right there with you, and find your voice. Speak up for yourself. If you want to talk to a nutritionist because possibly the doctor is not really doing that with you, then I've done that. I've said, I want you to make arrangements. I want to speak with a nutritionist. I want to find out if food is medicine, which it absolutely is. How is it? What is it about broccoli that changes anything in my body? I like to know that. So I wanted to talk to a nutritionist. Also, genetic testing. This is another area that you can either decide if it's in your something is in your family to test for it or not test for it. When I first had breast cancer the first time, it was 12 years ago. And we did the testing at that time, and I found that I was negative in all of the genetic markers. So my doctor said, well, it is your lifestyle that has brought you to this point. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And when I came to have my second cancer, I was in a different city with a different doctor. And when she brought up genetics, I said, nope, that's okay. I'm good. I've done that. She was able to say, well, actually, there are new genetic markers that appear every few years. we would like to test you on some of the newer ones. And I agreed, which I was very glad I agreed, because I found that I did have a genetic marker. It's called the PAL-B2 marker, and I do have that. Whether that played a role in both of my breast cancers, I believe that it most likely did. But just because I have that genetic marker doesn't mean that necessarily it's going to happen again, because I can change my lifestyle. But you may want to know about genetic markers for a particular issue that you're dealing with. So look at that doctor not as someone up here, but look at them as they're on your team. You are there, two experts coming together, and so own that and find your voice and ask questions. I have come back and said, I want this particular test done. When you do my blood work the next time, I want my inflammation marker test done. I want to find out certain things about myself. And my doctor has absolutely embraced it, and she welcomes the fact that I am safeguarding my health and wanting to find out all the possibilities of how to do that for myself. And even if you're in a hospital setting, you can still advocate for yourself. And I'm going to share a couple of stories regarding those leeches. So, because it allowed me to advocate for myself. So if you want to go grab a cup of coffee, you go right ahead. If this is the next 3 minutes, is going to be too much. But the very first time, which was the very next day of that doctor speaking with me, that they came in to do the leeches. I was to have 2 placed on my breast every 3 hours, which we now see was going to go for days. But they placed 2 of them on there. A doctor and a nurse was with me. And then they left the room and they said, we can't stay with you, but we're going to check on you pretty often. We're going to check on you periodically. It should take 25 minutes or so for both of these guys, but we'll check back on you. And so, of course, it wasn't but just a matter of minutes before one of these detached and rolled off and started trying to find a better meal somewhere else. That was absolutely shocking to me. And the next 5 minutes was basically hysterics, trying to get them to come in here and find wherever this leech went to. And of course, it was caught up in the sheets. Everything was fine. But what it did for me was it opened something in me. And I was able to say, I'm on board if you want to do this with me, as strange as it is. But if you're going to do that with me, then I want to have a medical professional at all moments sitting next to me. Anytime you put leeches on me, you will place someone in the chair next to me. And that is exactly what they did. It was empowering to know that I didn't spend those next 4 or 5 days scared, wondering what in the world is taking place, wondering if one's going to detach. No. And the other thing was, one evening I had a nurse shift change. And the new nurse coming in was actually brought in from another floor. And you could tell that he had just heard about what it was that he was going to be doing with me. So when he walked in the room, he went to the far corner. His eyes were as big as just eggs. They were so big. And as my regular nurse was telling him all the different things that he was going to be doing, I wanted to say, I don't blame you. I'd have that look too. It was too much for him. So when she was finished, I was able to look at him and say, I am sure you are a fine nurse, but you won't be my nurse tonight. Something needs to be done, and you need to go find another nurse. And the moment when I really realized that was the right thing was when he clapped his hands together and he said, thank you, and he ran out of that room. Well, if I hadn't spoken up, this was going to be my nurse. I'm sure he's a fine nurse, but he was not up for what it was that I needed. And because I advocated for myself in that very strange scenario, I've not stopped advocating. I hope that was not too much for some of you. But you never know what you're going to be asked to do. And if you're fighting for your life, you're going to say yes to many, many things that you might not have ever thought that you would say yes to. So now let's talk about your everyday life. What is it that you can be doing? And I will tell you that a sedentary lifestyle is soon going to be the #1 health concern bypassing smoking, bypassing alcohol, bypassing all types of things. It's sedentary lifestyle. And what they're finding is it's creating a breeding ground for an opportunity for disease and different things to come into your life. You need to be able to move. You must move every day. My oncologist said, when I hit the 10-year mark, and she said, okay, we're going to start looking at you and scanning you once a year instead of once every 6 months. And she said, I'm not even telling you that I'm concerned with what you're going to eat for the rest of your life, but I'm telling you, if you do nothing else, you move, you exercise every day. 30 minutes of walking, something, but you move every day. And I have never forgotten that. And it does matter. But she also knew me well enough to know that I needed a visual. I needed a picture in my mind. And it wasn't, your heart is a muscle. It's going to help you, you know, oxygenate your blood more. It's going to help your blood pressure. It's going to reduce your stress, all of that. I understood that. But it was when she went one step further and she said, think of it this way. Think of a pond with just still water in it. If that pond just stays like that and that water stays still, then things can start breeding. Things are stagnant. Things can fester. And she said, now think about a brook, a stream where the water is moving. That is not taking place like that in moving water. So she said, move things throughout your body. Get your energy flowing, get the blood flowing. Move things in your body. And that was a visual that worked for me. And visuals are very important when you are talking about your health, especially if you're battling an illness. I found that in battling breast cancer, I would close my eyes sometimes and lay perfectly still, get very quiet, and I had a vision of a meadow of flowers. And birds would fly in from the corner of this meadow, and they would go into the field of flowers, and they were looking for cancer cells, and they would pick up little golden beads of cancer cells, and they were just harvesting this meadow of flowers, and then they would lift and they would fly away with it, and I would never see those again. It can be anything, but it was a visual that every day gave me the sense that I was getting better and better every single day. Now, I also want to talk about, in general, you want to boost your immune system every day and lower the ability to gather toxins in your system. And a lot of this I know that you all know, but it's a reminder for some of you to just own it in a way. So food is medicine. Absolutely, food is medicine. Vegetables, fruits, they do something to your body. They reduce tumor markers. They help in so many ways. They lower your blood pressure. They strengthen your antioxidant defense. It is amazing what food can do. And so food matters. Every meal matters. Now, certainly I have been known to have my desserts. I've been known to have sugar. But for the most part, I really do try to eat well because I'm feeding myself medicine, natural medicine. And if it is born from the earth, I'm eating it. And I feel better. And I am 12 years and 10 years out in remission. And I know that part of that is because my lifestyle has changed. So just know that there are some tremendous food options for you. Squeezing lemon and water, getting hydrated, that boosts your immune system. If you're going to exercise, go outside and exercise. And think about the connection that we have to the universe and to this earth. When we can step outside and the sun can produce vitamin D in our body, we're connected. We're connected in a big way. Fresh air, breathing in fresh air, boosts your mood, boosts your immune system. Again, we are connected. Kick your shoes off, go walk in grass, and connect to the earth. It is just so important to get outside. And especially right now during this pandemic, walk outside. Wear your masks if you want to, but walk outside, get outside. Don't be so confined within your home. Get outside. Advocate for yourself in that way. Find the reason to get outside. It is you, it is your health. The other thing that you can do is, I had trauma in my childhood, and I know that it set the stage for me not being able to regulate my nervous system the way that it needs to. And too often I have lived in fight or flight. And a lot of you are very well versed in all of that. And I respect and admire the work you have done, the videos that you have put out. And it's Mental Health Month to help those that are dealing with things like that, which are a great number of us. And I know that the trauma has affected my body in a sense that instead of my body paying attention to other areas within itself, it gets focused on trying to protect me, and it abandons other things that I really want it to pay attention to. So if you have that trauma in your background and you understand that you're highly anxious, um, take the time to reach out to someone that you can talk to about that, as well as doing mindfulness practices. I meditate. I never did until about 5 years ago. There's apps you can put on your phone to help you with that. There's Calm, there's Insight Timer. There's a number of different resources that, again, advocating for yourself, you can go out and take advantage of. So it is in realizing how important your health is and looking at all the different ways that you can get involved by talking to doctors, by living a lifestyle, by that's healthy, by supplementing. I supplement with vitamin D. I take turmeric. I am doing a reishi mushroom extract. I am doing a green tea extract. Um, do your research on good supplements and add them into your body. Talk to a nutritionist about what it is that you're eating. And always make sure that if you're taking supplements, that you bring that to your doctor's attention. And they really do need to know. And when I mentioned to my doctor, I'm taking a reishi mushroom supplement, she said, you know what, let's stop that one. I'm not crazy about that. And I was able to say, okay, what is it about that you don't have a comfort level with? She's like, well, there's spores with mushrooms. And she went through a couple of examples. And I said, okay, well, let me do some research. I went back, talked to the company that I was getting my supplements from, brought this information to them, and they were able to very quickly show me studies and send me those that I could take back to my doctor. And she was able to say, you know what? Yeah, go ahead. You can keep taking that. So it's just understanding that you and the doctor have the same goal in mind, and that is to keep you as healthy as possible, living as long a life as possible. So I'm going to just check my notes here for a moment and make sure that I have covered some things, because it truly made a difference to me. When I started advocating for myself, it just opened up an avenue, a way of connecting to myself that I had not before. And it feels good not to feel so vulnerable. There may still be things that happen in my life, in my health journey, but I know that I'm going to be on top of them. I know that I'm going to be researching. I know that I'm going to be taking the steps to eat right, stay hydrated, reduce my stress. Stress is just so hard on a body and a mind. So I hope some of this has helped you understand the value in not only watching your health, but advocating for it, speaking up. I would have never, if that doctor had not mentioned something to me, I don't know how long it would have taken me to have gotten in the game the way that I did right after that, because you are in control. And the best outcome for you can be made by owning yourself and owning the journey ahead of you. And I thank you so much for your time. I was thinking the lights were going to come on in the middle of this, but they didn't. So I still have no electricity, but I'm so glad that we are still here together. So if you have questions, I would love to see them. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to. Let me see. Yep. No, I can't see the comments. I can't see the chat. Again, I'm in a tornado advisory, so certain things are just not quite working. But I will go and look at every single comment and I will answer them. And I hope that you will also go to janetlivingrenewed.com, because next week I'm going to be putting out lists of foods that are great for the brain health, great for your bone health, great for health in general, great for fighting cancer. Um, okay, so I'm getting a couple of messages there. But thank you so much. Reach out to CanCare if you are a cancer survivor. Thank you so very much for your time. You are very important. You matter. You're worthy. And I hope today was worth your time. It certainly was a joy and an honor to be here today with you. So thank you.